نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. The last hadith we discussed was whether the zakat becomes or that ما خالطت الزكاة. We finished the hadith. إلا أهلكته رواه الشافعي والبخاري في تاريخه. There's two explanations that the zakat money mixes with normal with your wealth, then it destroys it. We said it could be two explanations. One is you got money and you thought that's your son's zakat on it. So the other explanation was that you are not a worthy recipient of zakat, but still you go around collecting zakat. Ne? So and we told you this year, ulama this year we just put وقد احتج به من يرى تعلق الزكاة بالعين هكذا في المنتقى. So the same statement that when zakat mixes with a person's wealth, some ulama have deduced from that zakat is wajib on the wealth itself. Ulama say no, the zakat is not wajib upon the wealth, but zakat is wajib on the individual. That is why the Hanafis say that if a child is now baligh, zakat is not wajib upon him. Why? Because it becomes wajib on the individual. And this individual here is not baligh in Sharia. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you guys with me so far? So from this also comes the masna of, like I told you, that if you got a particular zakat item and zakat became wajib upon it, do you have to discharge the zakat exactly from that? Or can you give something else? Like how, like you got, for example, 100,000 rand. Do you have to give the zakat from that 100,000 rand? Or can you give something else? You like how we do nowadays. You Ramadan time, all the organizations, they give out hampers. Or if a lady's got jewelry, for example, right? She got rings, she got necklace, whatever. Does she have to give a portion of that ring away? Does she have to give it? Or could she just give the value? She works out the total value of the gold. She works out the total value of the silver, and she gives the corresponding value, right? So this is the ikhtilaf also here. So if we say the zakat is muta'alliq to the actual wealth, then you have to give from the actual wealth. And if you say the zakat is wajib upon the person, then you can give anything in place of that, even if it's of a different, if it is a different genre, even if it's a difference. Like I told you, you got gold, you can give silver the equal as long as the proper value. You understand what I'm saying? Or you got gold, you can give rands. If you got rands, you can give it in dollars, so long as you give the proper value. You understand what I'm saying? As Imam Malik and as Imam Shafi say, Daf'ul qiyam is not permissible. Qiyam means that you give what? The value of it in another, what you call it. So I'm saying, like you had gold, now you pay your zakat in rands or dollars, whatever, right? Imam Shafi and Imam Malik is not permissible. So Ahnaf say Daf'ul qiyam is permissible. To such an extent that the Hanafi says, like we're going to do now, we put on also, like if you got camels, right? And a certain amount of camels became wajib upon you, we'll do this. I'm not going to do it in too much detail, which is not so relevant to us. But, like if you got 5 camels, then 1 camel become wajib. Sorry, if you got 5 camels, 1 camel become wajib. If you have 40 sheep that are free grazing and you're using them to farm, to reproduce, then for every 40 sheep, 1 sheep become wajib. So that's what to give the value of the sheep and not to take 1 sheep from there. It's called daf al-qiyam. What is it called? To give the value of it. So the Hanaf say you can do daf al-qiyam. So the Malikis and the Shawafi, they use this hadith here to say, look here, you have to give from that thing. Because why? What the hadith is saying, when the zakat mixes with the normal wealth, when the zakat mixes, so that shows you that you must remove from the actual wealth the zakat. Are you with me? You understood how they made istidlal. You should be understood, Fainta, because he's saying that when the zakat mixes with the normal wealth, right? Yeah, the authors say that if you do Bukhari Sharif, inshallah, when you do Bukhari Sharif, you see Imam Bukhari was also of the same opinion that you can give the qimat. You don't have to give whatever zakat whatever zakat becomes wajib upon you, whether you got gold, you got silver, or you got goods of trade, like you are a businessman, you got groceries, or you got clothing in your shop, or you got, or maybe you're a livestock dealer, or even if maybe you a with a pet shop, you deal in exotic pets. You're selling monkeys, donkeys. You're selling lions, whatever. That's goods of trade, right? Isn't it? So at the end of the year, you have to look at your balance sheet and see how much goods of trade you got. You have to pay zakat upon that. So there, the Ahnaf says you can give the value of it. So you got 50 lions for sale, 50 monkeys for sale. You don't have to give actual monkey in zakat. You can give the value of it. You understand what I'm saying? And yeah, also the Shah is saying that inshallah, as we proceed through the Bab, inshallah, there is a chapter which is Babu Ma Yajibu Fihi Zakatu. The chapter in that which zakat is wajib. There are many hadiths that shows that you can give the qimat. So yeah, even there's a hadith number three of as an Anas, where a binte laboon becomes wajib. A binte laboon. So it's the age. I'm going to do this with you for this now. The age of a particular camel. When this becomes wajib, but you don't have a binte laboon. You got a binte lakhar, which is different age. So you can so you have also a binte laboon is of a bigger age, right? You don't have the binte laboon, but you have the binte lakhar. Then you can give a binte lakhar and you can add with it 20 dirhams, or you add two sheep with it to cover what you don't have. So what does that show you? You can give the value. You understood that? So that's our proof to say you can give the value. And then also, our answer to this hadith is like what I told you is it doesn't mean that you have to give the exact same thing in zakat, but rather you can give the what you give. You must you can give the value. It just means that you mustn't collect zakat if you got zakat. It means you mustn't hesitate in taking out your zakat. And then also, logically speaking, it makes more sense that you give the person the value because then uh, the person can buy what he needs. You may be dealing a certain commodity, right? Now, we say you must give the exact thing from you selling monkeys or you're a pet shop owner, you're selling birds. Now you say you must give from that birds in zakat. What is that person going to do with that bird? That person needs something to eat. You understand what I'm saying? That is how now, like this is a common masla here also, that in Saudi, they are Hanbalis. So they also say you must give the, yeah, I told you Muslim, they are Malikis or the Hanbalis. But they say you must give the exact same, the exact thing. That is why they say, like, when you give Sadaqatul Fitr, You must either give the exact barley or you must give the exact wheat. You can't give the value. We say you can give the value. Now, what happens there in Saudi? You see, they have this little kiosk where they sell this wheat and this barley. So now you buy that and then you must go give it now to a poor person. Now what happens? That poor person go and he sells it back to the kiosk for half the price. And that person sells it again. You understand what I'm saying? So logically, it doesn't make sense that you have to give the exact same thing. You can give the value. You understand what I'm saying? I was telling you that it's easier for the poor person that you give him the value, you give him the rands, the cents, then he can buy what he needs. You understood? So the same ikhtilaf also comes with the same ikhtilaf that I'm saying here about zakat. It comes in sadaqatul fitr. Certain ulama say no, you have to give either the wheat, the barley, or the dates. While the Hanafi says no, no, no problem. You just give like how we pay our sadaqatul fitr. You give the value, so the poor person can buy whatever they want to. Now imagine you say you have to give the wheat, the barley, whatever it is, the different measurements. You know how it is. You have to give. There is haraj in that, right? Or you give the rice, whatever. And then here we see in Saudi, I told you this vicious cycle that they're giving out the physical thing. So that is daf'ul ayn. What is that called? Called daf'ul ayn. Where you have to give the exact same thing, the exact wealth that you got, you must give from that. And giving the value is called daf'ul qiyam. Sorry, familiarize yourself with that. Daf'ul ayn and daf'ul qiyam. Okay, so that brings us, alhamdulillah, to the end of that chapter. What was it? What was the name of that chapter to us? Was it, okay, just general zakat. Now we come to Babu Ma Yajibu Fihi Zakatu, the chapter of that which zakat is wajib. That what zakat is wajib in it. So like how in the Quran you get the injunction that you must read Salah. There's some broad details like Allah Ta'ala says, Warka'u, Wasjudu, Waqumu lillahi qanitin, Taqra'u ma tayassara min al-Quran, etc. There's some broad guidelines, but the finer details of how exactly you must pray, you won't find that in the Quran. Where you find that, Yusuf, you find that in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the same way, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran only that you must give aqimu salata wa atu zakat. Pray your salat and give your zakat. But Allah Ta'ala doesn't say what you must give in zakat, like on what items is zakat necessary. Allah Ta'ala doesn't say how much you must give zakat, etc., etc. All those details you find it from the Sunnah. All those details, where you find it? In the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why those people that deny what you call the munkirin hadith, those people who don't believe in the Sunnah, if you ask them how much zakat must you give, they'll tell you no, you can give any amount you want to. They'll tell you Allah Ta'ala doesn't specify in the Quran like how much you must give, and then also they'll tell you that you can even give zakat to a non-Muslim because it doesn't say in the Quran that you have to give zakat to a Muslim. So because of the abandonment of the Sunnah, they don't have all the finer details. You understand what I'm saying? They don't have all the finer details. All of these details are found in the Sunnah. Without the Sunnah, you won't be able to uh, discharge this important pillar of Islam. Anyway, Babu ma yajibu fihi zakat, the chapter of what zakat is wajib in it. قال الله تعالى على ترى القرآن آتوا حقه يوم حصاده, and give its right on the day you harvest it. Here Allah Ta'ala is speaking about agriculture, agricultural crops, the day you harvest it, you must give the zakat. وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, oh you believe, أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم, spend from the pure things which you have earned, spend from the pure things which you have earned, right? وَمِمَّا أَخْرَجْ, and that which we have removed from the earth for you also, in other words, the crops. So broadly speaking, in Sharia, there's four types of four jins, four ajnas, four genres of things which zakat become wajib upon. Those domesticated animals that you keep, you bought with you like how you say you farm with it. One is you prospect with it. What is prospect? Prospect is like, like how people they buy sheep, goats for eat and they sell it, right? Or they buy, like, you ain't pay so much, but in Joburg they make sadaqah, they call it sadaqah, or you buy, you sell, you buy, you sell. That's different. That falls under mali tijarat. What does it fall under? That falls under goods of trade. What does it fall under? Goods of trade. The first, we're not speaking about it. We are always speaking about where you have flocks and herds of sheep and you breed with them. What you do? You breed with them. So now, when these are free grazing for the greater part of the year, that means for the greater part of the year, you don't have to feed them. For the greater part of the year, they can subsist on the land. Then this is called Sa'ima animals. It is called Sa'ima animals. So you pay on that one, right? And that has, okay, it's not so relevant to us. That's why when we come to these chapters, we'll go quickly through it. We won't spend too much detail on it. It's not so relevant to us because none of us are here really large stock farmers, etc. Then, so the next one is, I told you at the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that there was a real money, real currency. So there were two type of currencies, gold and silver. But in our urf, we don't trade in gold and silver anymore. We trade in fiat money, FIAT, fiat money. So when we work out ours, so what our ulama have done basically, very simply, what they've done is they've looked at the amount of silver that zakat becomes wajib upon, which we're going to do this in detail with you now, inshallah, detail. So the Nabi is mentioned that zakat comes wajib upon 200 dirhams, right? So what our ulama done is simple, they worked it out. They said, look here, they worked out how much silver would be in a dirham of Nabi Sallam's time. So they worked out exactly how much silver would be contained in 200 dirhams. So if you got, so now there's an international price for everything, like silver trading on the stock exchange every day, gold trading on the stock exchange every day. So what it done is, if you got cash, whatever cash it is, whether it is rands, dollars, dirhams, dinars, yen, Australian dollars, American dollars, whatever, if you have got that amount which can buy the gold which is contained in 200 dirhams, then you have to pay 2.5% or 1/40th as per the hadith. That's what I'm saying. Then there was two ways you could have worked it. You could have looked at the value of because in the hadith also Nabi Sallallahu spoke about 40 dinars, 40 gold coins. For every 40 gold coins you must give one gold coin. So we could have say, our ulama could have said that, okay, when you got cash, it's equivalent to the value of 40 gold coins. Then you must pay zakat. You understand what I'm saying? But if you look at it, that's very, very high. So if you were to take it, if you had to peg the nisab, that the fiat money, when you have the equivalent of 40 gold coins, then very few people would be paying zakat. And most people can accept zakat because there will be no people that has that amount. So generally, our ulama, they've picked the zakat when you got fiat money. Fiat money means rupees or whatever it is, dollars, equivalent to the silver nisab. Then you become a sahib and nisab. You understood? You follow what I'm saying, huh? Because remember, there was fiat money in the time of Nabi Sallallahu. Are you guys with me on that one? You with me? Also, this was all along, this was how it is. Although I told you, I mentioned to you last time recently in America, the ulama there, the young muftis, they decided that in North America, they're going to make the nisab according to the gold standard at 40 because the silver standard is too little. Because they said that I was telling you, if you look at the value of 200 silver coins, it's not even 1 month's rental for an apartment. So they say yes, it means if you 1 month's rental and you're considered to be a rich person. That's what I'm saying, because once you got a sub, you're considered to be a rich person because silver was so devalued, and then they used some way also to show that silver don't have the value it had before. They looked at the price of what a sheep would cost in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a certain amount of silver coins, and in today's day and age, it's much lesser. So it shows that the silver has been devalued to a great extent. So there in North America, they've pegged it with what? With the gold. Although now you will know silver price is going up again. So now the Nisab has gone higher. So now since the Nisab has gone higher, lesser people have to pay zakat and more people can receive zakat. I all the time it was about 8,000 rand. It was 8,000 rand was the value of what? Was the value of 200 gold coins, but now 200 silver coins. But now all of a sudden, it's what you said, 24,000 rand, man, is the value of, see, 24,000 rand. It's higher even. 27,000 rand is the value of. So that is why it goes up. You understand what I'm saying? As the price of silver go up, then the price of what you will also goes up. The zakat and stuff also goes up, right? So these details, we understand it and we learn it from the hadith. It's not the Quran. That's why the Quran is, and the hadith, the sunnah is indispensable, right? So now in this next hadith, we're going to do is some type of measurements that we are not familiar with. So I'm going to try to very briefly familiarize yourself with this theorems. I mean, sorry, with these quantums. Okay, we try to work it out, inshallah. Read the first hadith, inshallah. So read first one. Oh, sorry, ma, I was still busy. So I was telling you that the first thing zakat is wajib upon is the free grazing animals, ne? The second one I was telling you is the currency. That's where we stop, ma. So the currency I told you originally was gold and silver, and in time of the didn't have fiat money. So today we say fiat money equal to the value of the silver nisab, right? In the third thing, the fourth thing which zakat is wajib upon is on your agricultural produce. We'll do the details of that, right? As we go through the chapter, right? So there's four things, basically there's four items, but most relevant to us, we very rarely, there are people that have big Muslim people that have big farms out in the Transvaal in those places, but it's not so relevant to us, right? What is relevant to us is the gold and the silver one, because we have fiat money. I told you that is the replacement, right? The other one is very relevant to us is tijarat, ma'al tijarat, or goods of trade, because a lot of our people are business people. Then the agricultural one, okay, that one there, not many of us are involved in large mass scale agriculture, so that is not relevant to us, right? So there's four items where zakat become wajib upon, right? So remember, the people of Makkah were more traders, né? The people of Makkah were traders. They used to send the trade caravans to Sham to buy the goods. This is why I remember that's how the Battle of Badr came about. And if you look at the people of Medina, they were farmers. The Ansar were farmers, right? Okay, read the first hadith, inshallah. So this first hadith here, it explains to us the nisab. Nisab means what are the quantums, what are the amounts by which a person is considered to be rich in Sharia? What are the quantums by which a person has to pay zakat on if you have it in the beginning of the year, and even though it decreases throughout the year to below the nisab, but by the end of the year you have the nisab again, then you have to pay zakat. So those quantums are discussed, right? I'm going to try to translate it. So obviously in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the Arabian Peninsula, there are different quantums. We got, even today in different places we have kilograms, and we have grams, and we have metric tons. I think in England what they speak about pounds. I think America, they also work with kilograms. America, what's it? America is kilos, kilograms, tons, metric tons. In America, in UK, they work with pounds, etc. Anyway, we'll see what we can try to unravel this. Bismillah, tafadhal.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن ابي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس فيما دون 5 أوسق من التمر صدقة.
Okay, see the first one. So I told you there is a certain threshold. When you have only above that, then you pay zakat. When you have lesser than that, you don't pay zakat. So here in this hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions 3 different thresholds. So as I told you, this hadith, these quantums or these details are not found in the Quran. The Sunnah is indispensable. So the first is ليس فيما دون 5 أوسق من التمرة صدقة. There is not in what is lesser than 5 wasaq of dates sadaqah. So if you got dates that are lesser than 5 wasaq, if you got dates that are lesser than 5 wasaq, there's no sadaqah in that. Carry on, next one. So here's the what is very valuable to us. وليس فيما دون 5 أواق من الورق صدقة. There is not is what is lesser than 5 awaqin. Awaqin is Jama awqiyah. I'm going to explain all this, inshallah. Don't worry about it, right? So if you got silver, for the time being, just say you only got this wealth, you got no other wealth, right? Just take it for that amount. So you got silver that is lesser than 5 alqiyah. And just to make it understand it easy, let's take it for the time being to mean like this here. 200 silver coins, what? 200 of the silver coins that existed in the time of Nabi Sallallahu what? What? Take this to mean for the time being, it was a specific silver coin in the time of Nabi Sallallahu. So if you got lesser than that 200 silver coins that existed in the time of Nabi Sallallahu, zakat does not become wajib upon you, right? Carry on. You got Zawdin or Zudin? Zawdin. What you got in your kitab, Luqman? What you got is Zawdin or Zudin? Zawdin. So that means I got Zud here. Change it. Okay. So then the hadith also say there is not in what is lesser than 5 from the camel's sadaqah. That means if you got lesser, you're a camel breeder, but you've got lesser than 5 camels, then there's no sadaqah in that. So here, basically, in this hadith here, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks about 3 types of minimal thresholds about the agricultural produce, and he speaks about the silver, and then he speaks about the camels, right? So there's 3 things he speaks about. You got it. All right. Okay, time is up. So tomorrow we're going to explain to you. We won't go into much detail because it's not necessary, but we'll try to unravel more or less these Islamic quantums. We'll try to explain it to you more tomorrow, inshallah. And as I said, we won't go into too much detail, but just briefly so you get the idea, more or less, what is it all about, inshallah. That's subhanallah.